Available data on Nigeria's key macroeconomic indicators suggest a likely subdued output growth for the economy for the most part of this year as prevailing economic conditions, particularly as further economic and financial shocks are exerted from the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, while briefing journalists at the second monetary policy meeting of the Apex Bank, maintains that the anticipated slow growth is hinged on dampening impact to growth of rising energy prices in the domestic economy, tightening external financial conditions as some advanced economies also pursue interest with liftoff, as well as the persistence of legacy security and infrastructural problems. Now, the Nigerian economy, which grew fastest in 8 years last year by 3.4%, is also forecast to grow this year by 3.24%, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria estimate, and about 4.2% looking at the federal government estimate, and 2.7% from the IMF. But now the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which has also seen supply disruptions, present downside risks to the already fragile economy, is continuing to exacerbate the current situation. Now, nobody can tell for certain when this war is going to end. Now, to discuss this and more, looking at the impact on the Nigerian economy and also the West African region, I have joining me live from our Abuja studio partner and senior economist at SPM Professionals, Paul Elaji. Thank you very much for joining us today on the show today, Paul.
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me.
Now, looking at the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, this is definitely putting upward pressure on global energy and commodity prices, and inevitably also feeds into the inflation basket, complicating the likely global monetary and fiscal policy direction we're seeing countries take on. Now, for the local economy here in Nigeria and our GDP projections, looking at that from the federal government, the World Bank and IMF, what intricacies do you see play out here, especially as we are trying to moderate this volatility and fragility we experience in the local economy?
The implication of the war is very potent on our economy. Inflation is expected to surge to go above 16% before the end of second quarter. It is also expected that unemployment may increase significantly as factories continue to be affected by increase in price of gas, especially diesel. As the price of commodity increases, especially input into our manufacturing sector, it's going to have tremendous negative impact on job creation because prices of commodities are going up. For instance, the price of rice has significantly increased. For a refined rice is now above 30,000, going to about 34,000 naira per bag, and this may see increase further by the end of second quarter if the war continues. So high inflation is number one. Number two is high food prices, and I can tell you the price of wheat has since gone up. We have seen even media houses through their professional body had said they may have to shut down broadcasts because of cost of gas, because of diesel. So the implication of all of these cannot be overemphasized, from media to even bakers to transportation. It has negative impact on our economy, even though as I speak to you, no single bomb have exploded on our shores, but impact of war has radiated into Nigeria and beyond Nigeria, even to Senegal, to Angola, to Libya, to South Africa, and the rest. So this certainly has negative impact on our economy. It will also have impact on the real GDP. While the nominal GDP may increase, but the truth is that by the time inflation is made provision for, the real GDP that is currently above 3% may further reduce at the end of 2022.
I like the fact that you've also brought into perspective how the inflationary pressure is either going to heighten and moderate. Now, the federal government is expecting this to moderate at about 13%. But to what extent now do you see some of the resolutions of the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN steer the economy to a more stable realm? Now, from an investor sentiment point of view to insecurity, you've mentioned of inflation, capital flow, forex issues, access to raw materials for manufacturing sector, the petrol subsidy regime we still have on ground, electricity tariff pricing. All of these are pointing to sharp inflation and not necessarily a take-up on how the economy will really bounce stronger, either with any resilience at all, especially as we don't even know when this Russia-Ukraine crisis is going to come to an end. When we're making this forecast of about 13%, we didn't have this Russia-Ukraine crisis at the back of our minds. How do you see the GDP performing really now, especially with the stance of the CBN and deliberations we've had just at the start of the week on Monday?
Well, 2007, there was negative externalities, impacted Nigeria wrongly. 2016, 2017, oil crisis impacted Nigeria wrongly and negatively. 2020, COVID impacted Nigeria economy wrongly. Now we have Russia, Ukraine impacted Nigeria economy, impacting our economy wrongly. The question is, what is the loophole in our economy? The first you check is foreign reserve. As foreign reserve continue to reduce and the import, I beg your pardon, demand for imported product increases and high prices is going to immediately translate to a weaker exchange rate. Naira will be devalued, and if you check all these periods I've mentioned, Naira have been devalued. Government will want to remove subsidy. Government has removed subsidy on diesel and quite a number of other commodities that have been refined. So all of these will reduce disposable income of people. I mean, reduce quality of money. People have no disposable income. It may be the same, but what the money can buy will certainly reduce because of inflation. So all of those in one hand, like power sector, where we have three major legs: generation, transmission, and distribution. Every economy also has three legs, which is monetary, fiscal, and trade. So the challenge with Nigeria is that we have seen monetary authorities coming up with policies. You have heard about how central bank want to repatriate about $200 billion into Nigeria, but trade authority is not saying so much regarding the vision or the intent of the central bank. So how will it happen when you have trade authority not being committed to what monetary authority is doing, at least from what we can see? What policies are we going to make? Money alone cannot boost export. We need fiscal authority with viable expenditure on infrastructure, even though we've seen some in rail and road, but we need to do something about port system. We need to do something about power supply because of the crisis in Ukraine and Russia. You saw what happened. We were on power outage for some time, even this month. The question is, do we know when the next crisis will happen in our country? And if it happens soon, outside our country, and if it happens soon, what will be the implication? I have not seen difference from COVID period till now in terms of preparation of government. I've not seen so much difference in 2015, 2016, 17 global economic crisis. I've not seen that, not so much from 2007, because it's still translating to more poverty, it's translating to more hunger. It's also translating to high unemployment. The last figure released by the Bureau of Statistics, National Bureau of Statistics, it was over 33% youth unemployment. Out of 2 young persons in Nigeria, more than 1 is unemployed. That is a major problem. Out of 2, more than 1. Not my figures from the National Bureau of Statistics. Leave that aside. If you look at number of people that are poor, multidimensional poverty, we've seen figures from National Bureau of Statistics, and in fact, other agencies outside Nigeria continue to give us this figure. So central bank is doing a lot, but I can tell you it will never be enough. I don't know if you have seen a local pot that they put on 3 stones. You want to warm water, you want to prepare a local soup. You need 3 stones you need to arrange 3 stones and put your pot on it. The first stone is not efficient. It's visibly missing, which is trade. You have fiscal that is not up to the height of monetary. How do you expect your port, which is our economy in this instance, to stand? These are real challenges we are faced with as an economy, and that is why even though bomb is not landing in Lagos, neither do we have it in Abuja or Maiduguri, but the impact of war between Russia and Ukraine is very potent in Nigeria as we have it today.
And wrapping up our conversation now, Mr. Paul Elaje, even before the Russia-Ukraine crisis came on board, we were dealing with certain contextual issues around insecurity and also our resource base and the challenges we have within the value chain. But now, looking at bringing into perspective, consolidating an efforts of the CBN's drive for increased local production of commodities and then the performance of the non-oil sector now, the outlook, which I believe you would also side with from the MPCs, that we are going to see a subdued output growth for the most part of this year. From your own perspective now, what do you think are some of the likely twists and turns we'll see in the economy, especially as we have this as the pre-election year? How do you see this affecting the GDP performance for the year 2022? Quarter-on-quarter basis, the first quarter is already wrapping up.
Well, I'm expecting a reduced GDP growth. And I think that is what official we publish based on different numbers we are gathering already. This is March. By the end of this month, the number would have been, the preparation will be up. Then by April, we should see the numbers. But from the experience we had in February and we are having right now, is showing that the number is likely to be lower than what we have now. Maybe 2%, maybe a bit above 1%, but to be charitable, about 2%. But at the end of the year, if the crisis continues till June, then Nigeria may be prepared possibly for another recession. But the number is not really looking good because we have not prepared. And if you ask me what should we do, there is no shortcut to fixing an economy. In 2015, I spoke with your colleague and one of your correspondents that asked me that what are the shortcuts, what are the quick fixes, that was a popular language then, that Nigeria should do in order to revamp our economy. And my response was not what many want to hear at that time, and it's what I'm still repeating today. There are no quick fixes. You must build functional refineries. Significant proportion of our FX, our demand, it's on import of PMS. We produce crude locally. We need to privatize those 4 refineries. It does not make economic sense that we still maintain those 4 refineries today. Give them to private sector. The role of government is regulatory. Let us stay as regulators. Let us be fair to all. But those 4 refineries, and also give projection. And in privatizing these 4 refineries so that we can save our foreign reserve and we can also have production locally. In case the whole world is shutting down and we're practicing some other policy or so, we will be certain that we can still take ourselves to our offices. We'll be certain that the world will not collapse on us. Let us privatize them, and government play a role that will be regulatory in nature. Now, when you do that, we have private refineries coming up. I'm happy that Mr. President commissioned a fertilizer factory yesterday, and I'm hoping that before the end of the year, we're going to have that private refinery come mainstream, of course, from the African richest man. But that in itself, people say is sufficient to serve the entire Africa. The risk is that it may become monopolistic in nature. We need to have those 4 refineries go to private, and we are spending tens and hundreds of billions to turn around those refineries every 3 years. We have no business doing that. Give it to those who wants to make profit. Give it to competent hands, not like power, where it was given to friends and cronies. We need to give it to organizations with proven track record to make gas available for us. They could even prorate their payment so that we can say, as an economy, we are gradually becoming independent of fuel, PMS, AGO, aviation gas, as the case may be, and we can have them within our shores.
Well, Mr. Alaje, wrapping up finally now in just 1 minute, do you think in the medium to long term we can shift away from this fixation on oil as the major base of our economy? We see the non-oil sector contributes well over 90% of the contribution to the GDP figures we have in the last few years. How much would it take for us to build a strong base, like to have the same fixation we have for oil, shifting now to the non-oil sector?
Okay, so sometimes GDP is very vague. Even if non-oil sector is contributing 99%, our oil sector is contributing 1%, we need to balance it. How much in revenue is this generating for government for the sake of infrastructure? Now, non-oil sector is generating very low. The last check, you still have oil contributing most of the revenue. Some of the revenue government is getting, and predictable revenue. And when you have oil, you have debt, then the remaining is coming from where? Through taxation and so on and so forth. So as what we must do, can we change this balance in the medium term? I strongly believe so. Not so long ago, the Minister of Finance had mentioned that our government will be supporting those who are the poor of the poorest with 5,000 naira for about 1 year. And when you look at the number of those that are poor, if you say 40 million Nigerians, of course the number is more than that, over about 80 or 100 million people. But leave that aside, 40 million people, 5,000 naira. What can we do with that? I mean, what can we do with that, especially giving it to those with modular refineries licenses? We can boost oil production, refining oil locally using modular refineries, and that can reduce by 1/3 the pressure of import that we have within 18 to 24 calendar months. And I believe we can do it. And I believe it's something we need to think about, and something we need to do as a matter of urgency, so that we can come out of the current economic quagmire.
Definitely, we need to take action, and we cannot expect to see any results or quick fixes within the short term. Thank you so much for your time on the show today, Paul Alaje.